What's up, Algebra 2 students? This is lesson 31. Our objective is how do you write equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. And yes, that is the abbreviation for parallel. It's just two lines like that, and perpendicular is like that. So I guess a couple things we need to know is that parallel lines have the same slope and different y-intercepts. Perpendicular lines have negative reciprocal slopes. Also, something else you'll need to remember as we move on to the next slide, or learn if you haven't learned it before, is the point-slope form. That's if you're given a point and a slope, the point being the slope being m and a point being x and x1, y1. So the equation of the line with that slope through that point is y minus y1 equals m times the quantity of x minus x1. So you just kind of plug in that m and your points, or the numbers from the point, into that equation, and you have the equation of a line. But let's just talk real quick about this negative reciprocal slope. So I've just written some numbers down here. We're going to talk about the reciprocal to remind ourselves what that is, and then recognize what the negative reciprocal will be. So the reciprocal of 2/3, remember the reciprocal is kind of just flipping that number over. So that's going to be 3/2. So the negative reciprocal is just going to be the opposite of that number. The reciprocal of 1/2 is going to be 2/1, or just simply 2. So the negative reciprocal of that is going to be -2. The reciprocal of -3, well, it's like -3/1, is just going to be -1/3. So the negative reciprocal of that's going to be the opposite, or just simply 1/3. Alright, so let's get into this here. It says write the slope-intercept form. Remember, the slope-intercept form is the form that looks like y is equal to mx plus b. So our answer should be in that form of the line described. So now they're going to go through and describe some lines. It says through this point parallel to this line. So remember, parallel means same slope. So we need to look at this line over here, or the equation of this line, and find its slope. Remember, this is y is equal to mx plus b, so this number right here by the x is my slope. So then my slope, the slope I need, or the m, is going to be 3/2. And then I have a point up here that I'm going to call this x1 and y1. So we're just going to use that equation from the previous page. It looks like this. Y minus y1 is equal to m times the quantity of x minus x1. Now we're just going to plug in those numbers. So y minus y1, which is 2, is equal to m, or my slope, which is 3/2, times x minus x1, which is 1. Now we just need to simplify that, and we want to put our answer in this form right up here, slope-intercept form. So when you use that distributive property, it's going to be 3/2x minus 3/2. So I'm going to have y minus 2. So I'm almost there. I just need to get that y by itself there on the left-hand side. So I'm going to add 2 to this side and add 2 over there. So y is equal to 3/2x. Do a little bit of thought process here. 2 is the same thing as like 4/2 minus 3/2. It's going to give you 1/2. So it's going to be plus 1/2. So this is the equation of the line that's parallel to this line that goes through that point. And we're just going to graph it right over here in this thought bubble real quick, just to show you that it did actually work. Alright, as you can see, this red line is this line here. The blue line is the line we found, and those do appear to be parallel, minus my small craziness there. But you notice here this one passes through the point 1/2. It's my y-intercept. Alright, now we're going to try to go through this point, 0, -5, and be perpendicular to this line. So remember, perpendicular means negative reciprocal slope. So I'm looking at this equation over here. The slope is 1/3, so that means my slope is going to be the negative reciprocal of that. This is positive, so I'm going to need mine to be negative. The reciprocal of 1/3 is 3/1, or simply 3. And then I have this point right here that I'm going to call these x1 and y1. So now I just need to plug that all into the equation. So I'm going to have y minus -5 is equal to my slope, which is -3, times x minus 0. Y minus a -5 is going to be y plus 5. -3 times x is going to give me -3x. -3 times -0 is just 0. So plus 0, but I don't really need to write that. To finish getting that in the slope-intercept form, I'm going to subtract 5. So I'm going to have y is equal to -3x minus 5, because I can't add this -3x and the -5 because this doesn't have an x with it. So I just kind of tag it there on the end. So that is the equation of my line. And again, I'm just going to graph these two so we can see how it looks. Okay, notice this green one was the one we started with. The red one is the one that's perpendicular. And that's not exact, but if you look there, it seems to be pretty close to being a right angle there. Alright, we're going to do two more. This time we're not going to graph them. I think you have the basic understanding, but these give us an extra little trick in the sense that the equation that we're supposed to be perpendicular or parallel to is not in slope-intercept form. So we have to kind of get this into slope-intercept form so I can find the slope, so I can find my new equation. So this first one says perpendicular to this line through this point. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of just work with this to try to find its slope. So I'm going to subtract that 2x from both sides, and I will get 3y is equal to -2x plus 6. I'll need to divide by 3 to get y is equal to -2/3 x plus 6/3, which is 2. So this is the equation that I'm trying to be perpendicular to. So its slope is -2/3. So that means my slope is going to be a positive 3/2. And then again, I have this equation right here with an x1 and a y1. So let's just throw that in an equation here. Y minus y1, which is a -2, is equal to m, which is 3/2, times x minus a -4. Can I do that step in one? -4 makes it +4. This is going to be y plus 2 is equal to 3/2x. That's going to be 12/2, which is going to be 6. Subtract 2. Y is equal to 3/2x plus 4. And that's my answer for that one. We're going to do something similar here. Again, I do not have the slope of that line because it's not in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to subtract x from both sides. So I will have -3y is equal to -x plus 5. Divide by that -3. So I'll end up with y is equal to, it's going to be like negative 1 over negative 3, which is going to be 1/3 x minus 5 over 3, or plus a 5 over negative 3. That part doesn't really matter. What we're really looking for is the slope. Since I want to be parallel, that means my slope is just going to be 1/3 as well. Use this same point up here with an x1 and a y1. And plug and chug. Y minus 3 is equal to 1/3 times x minus 6. Y minus 3 is equal to 1/3 x minus 2. Because 6 divided by 3 is 2. Add 3. Y is equal to 1/3 x plus 1. Okay? Your homework is going to be a worksheet. But on that worksheet, I'm going to leave some room for you to do some of them from your book. So make sure you have your book with you whenever you go home or get ready to do your homework. Good luck.